So before we get into LSU and Mississippi State, what has been the most exciting game to you so far this season?
Not really anything so far because we haven't. A lot of the struggling games have of both teams have struggled this year. I mean, there's not really been a that big exciting game yet.
Yeah,
But if I do have to give one game, I would give it that Alabama and Texas game if I have to give it to them.
yeah, and also the Colorado and Colorado State. It was tight, and
No doubt that was the game of the year for so far as we think. We haven't
yeah,
got to Texas Oklahoma yet, so we're
and,
still waiting.
and we thought that Colorado um it was going to blow Colorado State out, but it Colorado didn't look that great. But so let's get into LSU and Mississippi State. You
Uh
know,
oh.
11 a.m. kick and start for Mississippi.
Yeah,
L-
I don't usually like the morning games though. I never like the morning games because you're getting up early, early start, trying to travel, and then you get like I saw they show before the game started. LSU they trying to stretch at West Point, Mississippi at 8 o'clock in the morning.
yeah, they
Well, I saw early. It's better. I mean, it's different if you're playing at home because you
that
got your own beds and you got your own field. But when you're playing the road games, that's it's a tough deal. Tough deal
oh,
to be in.
oh definitely. So MSU they dominate Mississippi State. So what did you expect them to just come out and attack them early?
I will tell you the truth, Kobe. Of all my years of watching Mississippi State and LSU, this was actually the most unexpected result I ever got. I know that sounds crazy
Yeah,
because we've been usually dominate Mississippi State. Well, not dominate, but like
yeah,
been on the top of them,
yeah,
and just us coming out there dominating. That was, I mean, that was unexpected to me because I'm just like, am I really? Is this the game that we've all been talking about every year? State versus LSU, and then this is how it's going. Like,
yeah. I to me, I didn't really expect that either. I thought it was going to be a closer game than that, a competitive game, and over the years it has been.
oh, definitely more like it's came down to like the last like fourth quarter. I mean, you remember not last year, but the year before last, we played in Starkville, and
Hmm.
I mean, we had a pretty confident. I mean, we had a pretty confident win going, but then State came back out in the fourth quarter and finally put something in, and then of course it came down to literally one play, and that was the onside kick, which
Yeah,
still. I mean, LSU, we had the advantage, but then sometimes coaches they have to do things that was not still is a bad thing for at that time. After we already reviewed the onside kick, LSU already had possession of the ball,
hmm,
and the officials already reviewed.
yeah,
Then and then head coach from Mississippi State, hate to say his name. Well, not hate to say his name, but in the
yeah,
circumstance of what we're in now. But Mike Leach
yeah,
decides to challenge the call after it was already reviewed. But but then of course instead of getting the result that he wanted, instead same results as the last review. But then also looking at Mississippi State getting was like offsides or something, then get 5 yards added after the play.
yeah. So, and this is the last matchup of Mississippi State and LSU for a while because Texas and Oklahoma is coming to the SEC starting next year. So we don't know when we'll play again. So
Well, I'm sure we'll still play. I mean, you wouldn't think that they would stop LSU Mississippi State. I mean, LSU versus State, LSU versus Ole Miss. I mean, that's the three big games. That's two big games that a lot of people like to see. So I wouldn't imagine them putting
well,
a.
yeah, I mean I think that's a big matchup every year, Mississippi State and LSU. So looking at the offense, um, LSU they just came out and just threw the ball all over the place, and Mississippi State couldn't. Um, they couldn't cover. LSU throw the deep ball. I mean, we State played man to man, and we couldn't keep up with the wide receivers, and Jaden Daniels threw the ball every time in the end zone.
I
Um,
know that will surprise. That's literally the number one thing that I've questioned about the LSU game, because I watch it on TV. I have superstition. Just like all of us for football, we have superstitions. We like
mm,
to watch games at certain places. We like to watch. We like to watch things go down at a certain time and all that. But and I'm looking and I'm watching the game and I'm seeing a lot of pass plays we're doing, and like Jaden Daniels has got like literally 10, like a whole 10-second count holding the ball and like trying to find a receiver, and I'm like, they're giving him all day to throw the football,
yeah,
and then we get a good play out of it. But I
yes.
was expecting. But again, like I said, this was like I said, no surprise. I mean, I'm surprised, not surprised that we won. I mean, I know that's bad to say. Not surprised we won against Mississippi State, but what I'm deeply surprised is how we won the game.
Oh,
If that makes
definitely. And Zach Arnett, he said at his weekly press conference that that State didn't have a really good game plan for LSU, and that he that was his fault. And I mean, I don't blame him. LSU, they're always a good team, and they always compete every year with in the SEC West. And I don't think this year I think they're still gonna uh, probably win the SEC West because the SEC West is wide open this year. There's no really good teams besides LSU. So,
point at this
but
point, because we're fixing to start getting into SEC matchups, and that's what in a minute we can talk about in a minute,
yeah, definitely.
because we got these upcoming SEC matchups. So
Yeah,
anything can happen when you're playing conference play. I mean,
yeah. So LSU, they're 1-0 in the SEC. State's 0-1. So, are you surprised that Are you really surprised? I mean, how how you think LSU's played these 3 games so far?
well, Florida State, that was not a I think we had a great start against Florida State, having the game tied at halftime. But
Yeah,
well, no, up actually.
up 3.
We're actually up by 3 at halftime. And then second half, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if it was just I don't know, Florida State just had a lot of teams can do stuff like that. They can play what I like to call playing possum
Yeah,
in ball. They may have waited to get the full game plan for second half, because they knew if they keep the game close going into halftime, well, now the second half they can execute their actual game plan against
yeah,
LSU. And if that is the case, I mean, I got to give it to Florida State. I could say whatever about that game, but if that was the game plan, play possum, keep the game close, and then execute your actual plan for the game at the second half. I mean, that's a smart coaching, and that's a smart move. I mean,
yeah,
what else you can do about it?
yeah.
But and
LSU LSU, they had opportunities to score in their own goal in their own end zone, and they went for it, and Florida State stuffed them, and they didn't get anything out of it. But Florida State, they're a good football team, and last Saturday they almost got beat by Boston College. So
that would that probably would have helped. That would probably would have helped a lot if they would have. But
LSU, they're ranked number 12,
mm-hmm,
so you got to give it to them. I mean, they're top 15. I mean,
mm-hmm.
but so
But
let's talk about Alabama because
well,
um
about the well, before we get to Alabama, I was going to try to finish answering the question about the 3 games so far. Well then,
Oh yeah.
but then the next week we play Grambling, and if anybody saw that score of the game,
You know. Yeah.
that I'm not going to even go into much detail about Grambling, but I will say that is how you respond after getting beat like that in the first week. But oh lordy, but that was one thing I worried about. It was we scored 72 against Grambling, and I was worried about that for the week coming up against Mississippi State. And
Yeah.
then again, here we go. We saw it Saturday. I mean, it looked like LSU just continued from what they did against Grambling the other night,
Yeah.
took on another team. I mean, it was like that game
Yeah.
continued, but this time you're playing a different team.
Yeah. So before we get to Alabama, I just want to say, Will Rogers, he wasn't himself on Saturday night. You know.
I didn't see much. I try not to. I try to pay attention a little bit to State's offense, but I mostly try to keep up with the defense of LSU because down the road. I mean, like you said,
That's
you just mentioned one team, Alabama, down the road. I mean, that's going to be that's besides Mississippi State and Ole Miss. That's like the only other team that I fear the most for LSU football, and that is Alabama, because
yeah.
it's been a battle when we play them. And then
You know.
you never know, you have that day where we could play the best game of the year against them, and then there may be that day we'll play the worst you ever seen. So, you know,
And
see when that game happens.
yeah. And like you said, everybody should um, be afraid of Alabama. Over the last a couple years, I mean, they were probably the best team in college football,
Oh,
and they
domination. I mean,
and and,
I,
and
except 2019, you can't don't except 2019, you can't forget about that.
we don't have to bring that one up,
Yeah,
but
we don't have to. Yes, we don't have to bring it up, but I always like to. I like to. It's almost a reminder. That's what one thing a lot of people do forget. They forget when they see Alabama, Georgia, Clemson. They're like, "Oh, these are the three teams that dominated the last, let's see, 10, 12 years." But I'm like, y'all always. But they always. I say they neglect to remember 2019, 2020 when LSU was in it. But sometimes it is what it is. So
and
they can keep.
if you look at
I got a T-shirt at home that says it.
yeah, if you look at Nick Saban's track record, that proves it. 6 national championships, and
One of them was with LSU.
Yep, and LSU they won the national championship against Clemson a few years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, and that was probably the best team LSU had.
Yeah, I think it was no. A lot of people can still say it's no. It was no doubt the best offensive team of the year of ever in college football because you look back to who all we had. I mean, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Joe Burrow, Mark
Hmm.
Chase, Terrence Marshall, Thaddeus Moss, Justin Jefferson. Like
Yeah,
we had a stat lineup for our offense, and then the line, and then also what we always talk about when we played football. I mean, the linemen had to be the cornerstones of it, and linemen did their end of the deal, and we made good plays. Man, they
yeah.
knew how to hold. And then sometimes in 2019, I felt like sometimes in 2019 we didn't have to play much defense because because our offense was so explosive. I mean, you literally just had to trust the offense
Oh yeah,
to literally be the ones to win the game. But there were some games our defense they had to step up, make a couple plays, and they did that.
mm,
So,
oh yeah. So let's move to Alabama. So
uh,
do you think? So do you think there's a lot of question marks about them this year because they didn't play that great against South Florida, and they really don't know who their quarterback's going to be.
yeah, there after you know that's the question mark started at halftime of the Texas game because I was like, okay, is this for real? Is Alabama really getting beat by Texas right now? And I mean, I understand last year Texas and Alabama's game last year was very close and it came
But
down. But that was when my but how I when I was watching the game. Well, first of all, it's hard for me to try to keep up with both games because I'm trying to watch LSU and Grandma on one TV, watch
Yeah,
Bama and Texas on another TV. So it's like, but when I look at the Texas and Alabama game, my thing, and
yeah,
then you're playing a team that gave you a run for your money at their house last year, and
mhm,
not playing you're not playing Alabama football.
yeah, yeah. So, and yeah, I mean, they're not. I mean, over the years they were really explosive. They're going downhill from here? Because you know Nick Saban, I don't know. He's like 72 years old, but he has. I don't know how much time he has with Alabama left.
I, I don't know. I mean, I'm not gonna say Alabama's going downhill. I'm definitely not gonna say that because
Because,
if you say anything about Alabama going down, then what happens is they come out explosive when you
yeah,
when rumors like that start going around. That's why I try to always, that's why right now I'm not. I've been trying to keep a lot of mouth closed about Alabama and all them right now.
yeah,
But I mean, from looking at Alabama the last 2 weeks, I mean, it could be better. It can be a lot better, but
uh,
I'm not going to call it yet saying they're going down. But you know,
yeah.
this week they do, and I did write it down. This weekend they do got Ole Miss.
We'll get to that game. But the thing, yeah, like you said, I don't think they're going downhill. But there's a lot of questions about them. Uh, but they hadn't gotten to SEC play because I mean they don't know. They don't. I think Jalen Milroe is going to start against Ole Miss. But he's probably their best quarterback they have.
So far, but yeah, so far, I mean, it's looking like it, but you know, there's got to be more than a quarterback. You got to have the linemen, you got to have the receivers, you got to have the defense, and
And their defense is probably the best they have. I mean, that what kept them from winning against South Florida is their defense because their offense just wasn't clicking in the first half.
oh no,
Uh,
and that's what also surprised me too. First quarters ended, and South Florida's winning 3-0 against Bama. Okay, come on now, like you. And this is the truth because you and me, I mean you and me, we've watched football for how long since we were in kindergarten. So like
uh, uh,
we know Alabama football. If
yeah,
they beat by a team, the next week whoever they play against, they're coming out rapid fire. They're going to come out and score literally 60 on the team. In his first quarter, they haven't even scored a point yet.
hey, hey,
It
yeah,
don't sound right for me. So
I'm,
I'm not
yeah,
questioning going down, but there needs to be a slight improvement. I'm not saying a big improvement because they are playing because we have not played they haven't played because it's not down for LSU yet, but there needs to be a slight improvement before
yeah,
before they get down to these next three SEC games after Ole Miss and Mississippi State.
yeah. I mean, Ole Miss and Alabama. I mean, Ole Miss better watch out. I mean, they better not take Alabama lightly, and I don't think they will. If you see Ole Miss, they got a really good quarterback, running back, and they can be the top in the top of the SEC this year. But they got some hard games coming down the stretch in these next 3 weeks
Oh yeah.
uh, against Alabama, LSU, and Arkansas. So let's move to Colorado. So do you think? I mean, there's a lot of hype around Colorado this year. Do you think that you think? I mean, they got a big game this week against Oregon. Do you think
Not gonna
that?
happen. Not gonna happen. I'm sorry. I can
Yeah,
say Colorado the first 3 weeks, but not my Ducks. Mm-mm.
no,
Not the
they got
not the Ducks. I don't.
they they got a tough. Colorado got a tough schedule this year. And Deion Sanders, he's probably now, everybody's believing in him and he could do some big things this year. But I just don't see it with Colorado.
Maybe.
Um
I mean, like I said, it may not be. And this year, you know how you have it. You have your rebuilding years when you have a new head coach and all that. So I'm thinking they're going to get a pretty solid year this year. But if if they do end with a very good record and a very explosive, finish to this season, then I think we could be on for next year football season when it comes down.
yeah. So you watched that game, Colorado and Colorado State. So
I watched
did you?
I watched until the midway to the third, but in the morning I checked. I finished watching it on my phone when I woke up the next.
Yeah, that game went a little too late.
Well, a little too late, I should say. Like,
And so, did you think that hit on Travis Hunter that wasn't necessary?
no, not necessary at all because I mean, one thing was he was already getting past interference, so we already knew that penalty was going to be called. But more so, the ball was already went over them already, and it was already in. So and just that hit right after. Yeah, I don't think that was necessary. I mean, I've heard about it. Before the game, there was a lot of talk and all that before the game, and a little scream,
And
all that. But that's stuff that I wish a lot of coaches nowadays, that's what they need to do. More discipline about that because I mean you heard. I mean Travis Hunter went to the hospital after getting hit
yep,
like
he
he could have got more hurt, severely hurt
yeah,
than he was in. So,
yeah,
I think there needs to be more discipline and stuff like that, but also
mm,
needs self control. Like
yeah.
you don't have to go
That's
with them.
Yeah, that that shouldn't. And he probably could have controlled that a little bit because the ball was already on the ground, and he already knew that. But Colorado and Colorado State, they had some beef. So I don't know if it was. I think it was on purpose, to be
Yeah,
honest.
I'm gonna say it was on purpose. I mean, I understand if the whistle. I mean, I know another thing. Sometimes how some officials are. The play will be already over with, but it's like we're waiting 2 seconds after the play is done for a whistle to be blown. So if he didn't hear a whistle, if they never sounded the whistle, then he may have thought the play was still going.
Yeah,
But if they
you know,
whistle, then I think that would be on. For me, it looked like it was on purpose. From how I saw it, it was definitely on purpose.
yeah. So you know, Florida, they really surprised people this past Saturday, upsetting Tennessee. Did you expect that coming?
Well, I watched the college game day in the morning, so and they were already talking about. They call it the curse in the for Tennessee. They call it the curse going to the swamp because the last couple of games they show like some back games and there was like Tennessee came to the swamp and got like decimated um by Florida. So really and truthfully, I was not surprised that Florida beat Tennessee because because of how they talked about it the morning of the game, saying this whole thing about Tennessee gets beat every time they go to the swamp and all that.
Yeah,
You know,
and
but Florida does have a pretty solid team, so I'll give Florida some credit. But
yeah, and
that would be 50-50 on that decision on that question.
yeah, and Florida and the swamp. That's a really tough place to play. Also,
Mhm.
their fans are really rowdy, and
Really, really rowdy, and it is packed too. Yeah,
yeah, they can.
I would if you love your team so if you I don't care if LSU plays there, I probably would not go to the swamp
I wouldn't either.
Because it looks like it's crowded. Like there's no, you can't tell me everybody's sitting down on a seat at that place. No, they ain't no seat to be found in that stadium.
Yeah. So did you? So do you think? So back to Colorado. Do you think that they found their new like the head coach for the future is Dion, right?
Mm.
So I feel like they're gonna if he does good, he'll probably he'll probably be there a while.
He
Um
he will be there. If they continue building up really good this season, and then next season, if we do see a surprise look from him next year, I mean, he could be there for a good while. I think what they're going, but I do know this week. I'm hoping Coach, and I hope Coach Prime is working on that right now. I think he needs to get his quarterback, which is his son, to
yeah,
try to get some more time with the other receivers because after Travis Hunter got hurt, what do we see? We saw a lot of struggle and all.
yeah,
And it took the tight end to finally step up and was able to get some plays in for them to pull out the win. So I'm hoping
yeah,
they'll try to work in a little bit more with the receivers because it can't always be one quarterback and one receiver. Sometimes you got to have a quarterback and a bunt and a two receivers. So I'm hoping
yeah.
to work with the receivers more this week and maybe some more with that tight end and that way they ain't trying to struggle much because of one person that who throws it to a lot of in the game.
Yeah, so in Colorado, they have a really strong defense. Especially Dion's son, he got a pick six.
Yes, I mean
And
solid defense play, but I say it's going to have to step up just a little bit though. There's a lot not being. There's a lot of red flags on that, but you just going to have to play a little different. Play better.
yeah, and he Dion he brought in his own players, and he the other player that was there before him, he just let them go, and he brought in some new players, and I think it really worked out for him so far.
I mean, it's all
Uh,
working out really good, but again, there's probably a lot of other players that's been there before,
yeah,
and I think he because and that's one thing too when you're a coach and you bring in a lot of people from a territory like that to a new place, it can be so easy to find to know who you're because you've already played with them and you've already worked with them so many years, but it's different when you're in a different environment, especially with people that's already been there and who probably already had a starting spot and then
yeah,
changed up because of a new head coach, and then he brings, of course, his son, and then brings a couple of other people with him. So it's kind of like now you're having to, but then it's
yeah,
like I said, it's like, and then they said it the other day. It's like you got Little Sanders and Travis Hunter. They're like the two. They're back and forth with each other. Well, when he got hurt, then what happened? They struggled on the offensive
yeah,
side because why? Because he depended on quarterback and that one receiver. But then somebody had to step up and be his helper, and the tight end did that. And
yeah, and
this week,
and I think
and that's why I'm hoping this week they'll get more time with the receivers and all that. They need to.
well, so I think Travis Hunter is their number one play. Their number one guy that they go to help them win. I'm not saying they have other good players on the team, but he's I mean it's hard to play both ways, and he does that to help his team out. So do you think everybody's talking? Do you think he's a Heisman candidate,
Who? Who?
Travis Hunter?
I don't know yet. That's a if not this year, and next, and like I said, if this year Colorado ends with a good record and very explosive after and a very explosive ending to a year, I mean we could see good run from next year, and then who knows? We might could see a potential run for the Heisman for Travis Hunter. But I don't think they've had a.
It,
I don't think they've been given enough time yet to.
yeah, it's too early in the
Yeah,
season to
way,
tell.
way too early.
Yeah,
It's
I mean that.
these teams right
It,
now, like we said when we first started this, you know, a lot of teams is already playing that up and down football. It's not what I would call a successful football. You got one team like LSU. You got one team that dropped early. Now they're coming back, and then they went up a little bit. But then next week we could. I mean, even if we do beat Arkansas next week, I mean, if we play terrible, well, we just still drop a little bit. But even though we won, we can raise it up, but not much. And then like State, they played pretty high up. Then the next week kind of went down a little bit because of how they had that Arizona game. But then now this last week it dropped. Same thing for Bama. Play good, drop, but then they still, but in my book, they still drop because how I'm just gonna say how terrible they play. I mean that's hard for me to say. I mean I know I'm probably
yeah,
saying that, but yeah,
yeah,
it's how terrible they played against South Florida. That's just proof. I mean, from how I saw it.
yeah. So and this season, it's already in week 4. It's going by pretty quick, and
Season
so
far, like we needed to slow down a little bit.
dude. So okay, so now let's get in some. You want to get? Let's get into some picks.
Sure.
So we're gonna do some picks, and at the end of the season, we whoever had the most wins, is the winner. So I got some good games to pick from. So let's start with Florida State and Clemson. Um, and Clemson, Clemson, I'm
Playing at Clemson or at Florida State.
at at Clemson, and Clemson. I'm not really, you know, they haven't really impressed me this year. They got beat by Duke, which was really surprising, and Clemson, they're out of the top. They were number 5, and they dropped out of the top 25. We so I'm gonna go with Florida State in this game.
Yeah, I think I'll at this usually for stuff like this I would pick Clemson to win because they are playing at home. But yeah, I think right now I'm gonna stick with Florida State against Clemson right now. I think I'm gonna stick with that.
Okay, so and we already know how this game is gonna go, but Colorado and Oregon, it's at Oregon, and Colorado, it's a big test for them this week. They haven't played a really they're in the Pac-12. They're going to be in the Big 12 next year, but they haven't really played a Oregon team like this before. So I'm gonna go with Oregon.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go with I'm gonna agree with that. I'm gonna say Oregon is gonna win this one, but if Colorado does play a very good game against Oregon, it's gonna be close. But
Yeah,
I think Oregon will probably pull it out with the win.
yeah. So now, Ole Miss at Alabama. Um, Alabama Alabama is struggling to start the season, but I don't think Ole Miss is capable. I mean, they're capable of winning this game, but Alabama's just too good. I mean, to beat Ole Miss. So I'm gonna have to go with Alabama, but it's gonna be close than people think.
Yeah. I mean, for the last Saturday, I was saying I hope Ole Miss does beat Bama, but I think this week if Nick Saban, if hopefully this week if Nick Saban gets his team up and more prepared for this one, since it is the conference game against Ole Miss, I think they'll be more ready for it this time. So I'm gonna say Bama. I'm gonna say Bama, but I'm with you. It's gonna be very close. But matter of fact, let me go and make this too. If Bama wins, they're gonna win by with a field goal. Field goal.
No, you're exactly right. It's
They're gonna hit a field goal before as time expires, or they're gonna win in overtime.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I think Ole Miss, they're a powerhouse team. Alabama, they're people didn't expect this from them this year. That they is Bryce Young was probably the best quarterback. I'm not saying Matt Jones and Tua, they're all good, but I know you know Young, he's quick. Just say that. But so now Arkansas at LSU. I'm gonna, Arkansas, they got beat by BYU last week, and LSU, they're really strong, and KJ Jefferson, he's not as mobile as Jaden Daniels, and LSU's defense is really, they're dominant. They Perkins Perkins you got probably Perkins is probably their best player on the defense. So LSU is going to, I pick LSU. They're going to win 14 to 21 points, I feel like.
Yeah. I don't think you should be. I don't think you should ask if I'm going to pick to win this one though. But
Yeah,
you
it's
L,
no brain.
no brainer. I'm going to pick LSU's going. I pick, of course, I'm gonna say I pick LSU to win. I mean, that's a no brainer for me. But I will say, I am gonna continue to treat the game as I did last week, and as I will do for every game going down the season. I mean, I'm gonna still say we're the underdog team, and we need to come out rapid fire as we did last week against Mississippi State. And I know that sounds crazy for me to say underdog
Yeah,
team, but that's how I look at it every time for LSU football. I mean, it don't matter if you're playing. I mean, okay, like Grambling. I mean, we saw how the score went for Grambling, but I still consider LSU an underdog team going into that game because why?
and
Because how we got beat by Florida State, and then, I mean, you never know. You could play. You can have a bad night, but then you can play another bad night. So
yeah,
I look for LSU to, even though I think it is correct. LSU is the favorite to win, but I'm still considering us an underdog team like I did last week, and what I'll do next week, and so on down the road.
yeah.
No,
So
LSU will win this Saturday.
if you look at the line, LSU's a 17-point favor,
Mm.
17 and a half point favor. And so do you think they can you think they're going to beat the spread, or do you think Arkansas is going to keep it a tight game? I mean, it's hard to tell right now, because Arkansas, I mean, they're a good team, but I think LSU is a slight better than them, and so LSU's gonna win. So Mississippi State, South Carolina. If you saw how poorly State played last week, I don't need to bring it up anymore because that game is really ticked me off.
Yeah, that
But
that game is over. That game's over. I'm not trying to move. I'm trying to move on.
you're good, dude.
I've
But no,
had I've had my fun over the weekend with it. I think I
yeah,
did.
that game's over. A brand new week this week. So
Yes.
Mississippi State at South Carolina. State, to be honest, State needs this game. We can't go, if we lose this game, we're going to be 0-3 in the SEC because next week Alabama. I don't know how that's gonna, how that's gonna play out, but I think State really needs this game. And
No, no brainer for you who you're gonna pick.
well, listen, no, listen. Okay, so South Carolina, you know how close they played against Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
So they were winning at the half, and it looked like it was going to be an upset.
Should
And
have been.
that would have been really something if South Carolina can beat the number one team. But we'll I mean, Georgia's a really good team. But South Carolina, Mississippi State at South Carolina, I'm gonna go with Mississippi State. But I feel
No
like
brainer.
I feel like if State play the way they play against LSU, they're gonna get their tails kicked. So, um, but I feel
Well,
like State will come out, and I think it'll be a different week for them. So it's gonna be close, but I feel like State will win by 7 points or so.
yeah. Well, as Lee Corso would always say, not so fast, my friend. I got South Carolina but very, very close.
All
Very
right.
close.
Well, last game now. Well, two more games actually. Texas and Baylor. Who you got?
Hook
Te-
'em.
uh,
Hook 'em. Heck, all the way. They
I
beat
I got
Bama.
that.
They
It's
beat
that
Bama. Hook 'em.
it's
Hook 'em.
that Baylor. It's that Baylor, but Texas is better. So
Don't
one more
matter.
game.
We still hook 'em.
Oh yeah, one more game, and this is probably going to be probably the game of the week, in my opinion. Ohio State at Notre Dame.
Oh my goodness. Give me Brutus. Ohio State by a mile.
Yeah, I mean, but don't get me wrong. Notre Dame's a really good team, and but they really haven't played they really haven't played nobody. But I'm gonna go with Ohio State in this game also as well because you know Ohio State they're the number it's the number 6 versus the number 9 team. So I think it's going to be a good competitive game. It's at 6:30, so I'm going to go with Ohio State as well. But so I think this is going. I think for this is a state and LSU podcast. I mean, both. I'm a state fan. You're an LSU fan. So but overall, I think both teams if they play as well as um I think both teams will come out as winners this week. But so that's gonna be it. I think this was a really good podcast to talk about sports.
Yes, yes, it was, and I like to. You and me, we've been doing this for a long time. I mean, you know, it's hard sometimes. And especially in this time we're in now. I mean, a lot
Yeah,
of, a lot of us is in college. A lot of us is at home, or we're
yeah,
all work. We're all straight into work. So, but
yeah,
but definitely, this is stuff that you and me we've done every year. I wish we can get Crosby to join in sometimes, but
yeah.
he got here.
He's a
And by the way, that game that this Thursday for Crosby and them, we don't have to count it as a pick or nothing. But I am going to say Go Coast will win this Thursday.
oh yeah, yeah.
They
Back
will.
to what you said, Crosby. He's a busy man. He's living his best life playing JUCO football and he's killing it. They're 2-0 so far. I think 2-0, and hopefully they can who they play. I think they play who they play this week. I forgot.
I don't know, but all I know is they're going to win. Oh, that's
Oh,
all.
so I think definitely they're gonna win because I mean Gulf Coast they're a good team. They're got some big old got some good players. And by the way, I mean, you went to the first game. I mean, it didn't the first night didn't turn out too good because it was pouring down rain. But
Yeah.
you they bounced back. They played a Saturday game and they made it up for that. But I think they'll have a really good season. But that's me and your that's our boy. We're cheering him and Matt on all the way, and hopefully they'll have a best of luck to them. But I think so. Good football podcast. And next week, you know, we're I don't know what your schedule is, but I think me and you get on here once a week to recap the games and talk about state and LSU and throughout the season. I think, but it's a good way to because we're both no sports.
Oh
So
yeah, we are. This is what we do. We've been doing this for a long time, so this is no different to us to how we
you know,
operate all
yeah,
season.
yeah. Whenever we was in school, me, you, and Crosby did picks all school year.
Goodness,
Every year,
did the
uh,
headgear pick? Obviously, I don't have a headgear stuff here this
it,
time.
no bit, no,
Maybe,
no.
maybe, maybe, maybe next podcast I'll have when we do the picks. I'll have a headgear ready,
Well,
but we can
we'll
get headgear stuff. But
oh yeah, but
yeah,
we'll come we'll come back probably either uh next Monday or Tuesday, and just recap the games, and talk about LSU and Mississippi State how they did, and we will then whoever has the most picks right, we'll talk about whoever get the most picks right, and then I'll write these picks down, and on a piece of paper, just keep up with it.
Oh
So
yeah.
throughout the year. So, anyways, Big D, I think this is really a
Well,
good
listen,
way.
thank you for having me on this. I like to always talk about football with you. So, thank you for letting me be on here today.
Oh yeah, no problem. And I think this is a good way for me and you to react about what's happening around college football. And then, but anyways, we'll be back, everybody, next Monday or Tuesday, whatever he has planned. If he, I don't know his schedule or anything, but and we'll get back together, Big D, and we'll do another college football podcast, man.
Yes, sir. And always go Tigers all the way.
Oh yeah, Big D. I'll talk to you next week, man.
Yes, sir.
Peace.